Why do people quit trading card games? There's a million reasons to get into them, but why do people leave? What's going on, guys? My name is Hyena, and I think to start off we're going to go with probably the least likely reason, and that's going to be scalpers. And if you don't know what a scalper is, basically it's somebody that buys something at retail price so they can sell it at a much higher price at the cost to the consumer. This is mostly prevalent in the Pokemon trading card game, where you can see people buying things at retail price and then selling them for somewhere between 50 and 300% more depending on what box they've bought. While this is mostly a problem for collectors, there are people who play the game that find this a nuisance as well. Imagine trying to customize your deck and the new set just came out, but you can't actually get the cards because a box that costs $70 at Target suddenly costs $300 from somebody on eBay, and it's the only place you can get it. That's a good segue into our next reason, which is going to be cost. It costs a lot of money to maintain a competitive deck. Even if you're just playing casually, you might notice that you keep losing because you just bought the base starter set from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering. While maintaining a decently competitive deck isn't always expensive because you can buy individual cards on different card dealer websites, you might find that the booster packs, if you wanted to go about it in the old traditional method, cost somewhere between $3 and $15 per pack depending on what card game and what rarity of cards are inside those packs. If you simply want to play casually, going with the $3 to $5 packs isn't a bad option. But if you want to collect, getting the $15 pack starts to add up very, very quickly. Paying $15 per pack, you're not very likely to make your money back if you're looking to eventually sell these cards, and that drives a lot of people away. Along with that problem, getting booster packs that are only about $3 to $5 typically limits your chances to get rarer or better cards. Something else that plays into the cost is when card games overproduce. This means they're making more sets per year than most people can actually afford to buy. A standard card game is probably going to come out with 2 to 3 sets per year, and that's about what you would want because it keeps the variety up. However, card games that make more than that tend to drive people away because of the high cost of maintaining competitiveness when so many sets are coming out all at once. But with new sets typically comes something called power creep. This means that cards you might have bought 4 or 5 years ago are no longer actually usable in the game if you want to play competitively, especially the higher level cards. The biggest complaint I hear from Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! Players is pretty much this exact thing. Cards they bought from sets that came out 5 years ago aren't really competitive anymore because the new sets are so much more powerful that it makes it about impossible to actually win at the competitive level or even casually. Pretty much every card game is guilty of this, and it's hard to fault them for it in some ways, because when you make new cards, you have to give people a reason to buy the new cards, and sometimes it's just the artwork, or sometimes it's a themed set. Magic is big on themed sets, but at the same time, you can't expect people to keep buying new sets year after year because it becomes a money sink and they end up with thousands of cards that they can't actually play with anymore. The second reason people get out of card games is what's known as changes in gameplay. This could be anything from meta shifts to entire mechanics being added to games. One of the bigger examples would be the addition of synchro monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! This is something that changed the gameplay completely, and while you could still technically play as you used to, synchro monsters essentially added an extra part to the game that you had to participate in if you wanted to remain at the competitive level. As mentioned before, meta shifts are part of changing gameplay. This is when a new pack or set comes out for a trading card game, but it changes the way that the game is played, meaning that you can't play your old decks anymore without massive upgrades. This would mean if you bought a theme deck, like for instance the Fallout Magic theme deck, it could be obsolete in less than 3 years and no longer viable. There are countless archetypes or sets that came out and were promising, but they haven't gotten any additions lately, or they just haven't gotten any new additions at all. Our third reason is going to be community. Part of the fun of gaming is being in a community and making new friends, and it's almost not even about the cards themselves at some point. But if you get into a community that's hostile to new players, you'll see that those players don't stay, and eventually even the players that were telling them to get lost stop playing the game because they're not having fun anymore. They're just playing the same people over and over, and you already know how they play. Part of the fun is getting to know new people and know how they play, so every game is different. If you play the same person, you're often going to be playing the same games over and over again. Something I didn't think about when it comes to the community of a game that a lot of people informed me of is that there's a hygiene problem in trading card games. And what I mean by that is y'all fucking stink. When I say that, I don't mean that you're bad at the game, I mean that you literally smell. And I've never personally had this problem, but when I asked people who have been to competitive card-playing tournaments, they said it's a massive issue. From what I've heard, some people have gone so far as to put mint jelly under their nose just so they don't have to smell the otaku BO that's perforating the air. This means that people who want to play the game but can take a shower every day feel like they're excluded because they don't want to have to go to a place that smells bad just to enjoy a hobby. While researching this topic, I couldn't find anybody that quit the game specifically because of this, but I imagine for some people it's a very large factor. Possibly the most unpreventable reason is going to be player burnout. Some trading card games have been going on for well over 20 years, and while some people go back and forth between actually playing the game, some people only make it 5 or 6 years in between that time, and then they never play again. And the people that do decide, maybe 5 or 10 years down the line, depending on what game you're playing, that they do want to get back into it, they find that the game has changed so much that it's not even really possible for them to do without buying a bunch of new cards. Some of my friends that played Magic back in the early 2000s said it's almost like learning a completely new game. And I imagine it's like that for a lot of different trading card games once you've been gone for so long. So this leaves only really the hardcore fans that actually stay the whole time, and that's if the game survives that long. Lastly, we're going to talk about competition, and this is mostly in the form of other trading card games. When a new trading card game hits the scene, a lot of people are interested because they have been playing the same old card game for up to 20 years at that point. I myself went to One Piece from Magic the Gathering because I've been playing Magic for about 10 years and had kind of lost its pizzazz. But this can happen with any trading card game. You can go from Yu-Gi-Oh! To Pokemon to Dragon Ball Z, the Disney one I don't quite remember. Sometimes there's just too many card games for people to choose from, and this was especially true in the early 2000s in the card game boom, when people were trying to ride off the coattails of Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon. And those are going to be the reasons most people leave card games. Competition, community, cost, meta changes, and fatigue. Honestly, with all that put together, it's a wonder card games last as long as they do in some cases. Remember to follow me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and even add me on RuneScape. Until next time, see ya.